Lightyear wasn't at all what I expected, but it's not a bad film, at least I don't think. I think the plot was a little bit too complicated, especially for young children that aren't gonna know what time dilation means and what traveling fast does and what gravity does to slow down time. Like it could have been a little bit more simplified, but even without that, I thought the plot would have been a little different. It would have involved space a lot more. It would have had more to do with Buzz coming up the ranks in Star Command and etc. etc. But no, that's not exactly what the movie was about. But I mean, yeah, like I said, it wasn't a bad plot. It wasn't a bad story. It's just I think the way it was executed, especially in the second half of the film, was a little poor. The plot of the movie is that after a failed mission for which Buzz Lightyear blames himself for and his people being marooned on a planet and not being able to get back home, Buzz Lightyear takes it upon himself to fix everything and get his crew back home. So the first half of the film, I mean, more or less, is Buzz Lightyear trying to test the hyperspace fuel that was destroyed in the original crash, and it's like a crystal, and they're trying to figure out the right components to make the perfect crystal in order to achieve hyperspace speed, which they need to get back home. So Buzz Lightyear tests that, and for him it's only a few minutes, but due to time dilation and moving at high speeds and gravity, because I believe he slingshots around a star, and that would have increased gravity, which would slow down time for him. Years pass by for his crew, but not for him. For him, it's only a few minutes. For his crew, it's years. And they had the same concept. If you ever watched the movie Interstellar, and that movie is very deep, it's very emotional, and that's essentially what they do here to a lesser degree. And that's where I think they overcomplicated the film, because I wanted it to be more adventurous, I guess. But it is what it is, I guess. And Buzz Lightyear finally achieves hyperspace speed, but in doing so, he traveled further into the future. So even though he wants to get back and tell his people that he succeeded and he can now get them back home, things are a little complicated now that he's further in the future. And this is what I mean. Like it's way too complicated as a plot, especially for young children. Not for me necessarily, but I wanted something more adventurous, for which the second half of the film is a little bit more adventurous. But the supporting cast of characters, they're poor, they're bland. Like I didn't really care for them much. There's way too much comic lines, way too much comedic relief, and the lines are poorly timed. I didn't really hear many laughs like in the movie theater at all. I mean some, but there was just too much. It was very excessive, so I didn't really care too much towards the second half, or more like I guess more specifically the center of the film, not necessarily the entire second half, because part of that second half introduces the character Emperor Zurg, or at least they know him as Emperor Zurg in like the Toy Story movies. And this one, it's just Zurg. And Zurg isn't a bad character. He's actually Buzz Lightyear from the future. But this is where it gets very complicated, because this Buzz Lightyear is from a different future, a separate timeline. Because even though he went through basically the same thing that we see Buzz Lightyear go through, there are minor differences in which they branch off into two separate timelines. And you can definitely empathize with him, because Zurg isn't a bad person. He's just been alone and isolated for a long time and feeling like he just failed everybody. So all he wants to do is travel further back in time and erase everything that happened, which doesn't seem like a bad thing, except he would erase the relationships that Buzz Lightyear, like the Buzz Lightyear we see, the relationship he has made with the people on that planet and with the granddaughter of his best friend. And he doesn't want to do that. I mean, he does want to help everybody, but not at their expense. He doesn't want to get rid of that. So the moral of the story for me is you can't change the past. Like however painful it may be, however hard it may be, you can't change the past. You just have to move forward. And Buzz comes to terms with this at the end of the film, because his best friend fell in love, she got married, she had children, she grew old, her children had children, and then she died, and life moved forward. The only person who didn't get to live their life is Buzz Lightyear. So it was hard for him, and the past can be hard, it can be painful, but you can't change it. You just have to keep moving forward. And you can wonder as much as you want about how things might have been different, but you can change it. You just have to keep moving forward and make the best of what you have. Appreciate what you have. So yeah, those are my thoughts on the film. It wasn't what I thought it would be. It was a little more complicated than it needed to be, especially for young children, but I mean, it was good. It wasn't bad. I think people are just expecting it to be about Toy Story, but it isn't. Like the character Buzz Lightyear in this film is based on the toy from that movie, and that toy is based on Andy's favorite movie about Buzz Lightyear. So that is essentially what this movie is. They even say it at the beginning of the film, but I feel like people still think this is Toy Story. It's not. So if you feel that way and you go into this film thinking that, you are going to be disappointed. So let me know how you feel in the comment section if you've watched it yet. I enjoyed it. I thought it was a fun movie, except for like the second half of the film, even though it was more adventurous. The characters were just poorly executed, and that part of the plot was poorly executed. But hey, if you feel differently, let me know. Please hit that like button. It does help me a lot. Subscribe if you have not already. And I will catch you in the next video next Friday. See you then. Bye-bye.